Welcome Interior UK, I'm Molly and I'm an interior designer for NW3 Interiors. Welcome to my Chiswick project. When we were initially designing the hallway, we really wanted to retain the original tiles. They were this very cool pattern of blue, yellow, red, black, but unfortunately they couldn't be salvaged. So we ended up choosing something quite dramatic because we kind of wanted to replace the original kind of drama as you walked in, which was really cool, which is why we opted for these very patterned tiles, which you can probably only get away with in a small space. So I think they worked really well to incorporate some colour, some texture, especially considering it was quite a light, bright area with all of the white walls. We also then included the door in the denim Fern ball, which was a nice pop of colour that my client absolutely loves. My favourite feature in this space is actually the vintage console here, which was slightly too short, so we ended up having to have my bespoke guy create an additional plinth at the bottom, but this tied it in quite nicely with the tiles, so it actually worked out in the end. Quite hard to pick a favourite room in this house, but this is probably my second favourite, which you'll understand why later. And it's not because I don't love it, it's an incredible space. And it all started with this specific material here. My client had followed me on Instagram and had seen that I'd posted a photo of this, and it's one of my favourite worktops ever. It's so bold and it's so striking. We really wanted to combine some really nice colours, textures, materials with kind of calm, muted tones alongside the more bolder prints. So we ended up integrating all of these lovely mid-century elements and lots of woods to kind of soften the whole vibe of the space, which worked out really, really well. I also featured one of my favourite pendants because it creates this really lovely glow. One of the huge feature points of the design was definitely the crittle, because we have about 3 rows of it. The crittle was a big decision, and it was something that kept my client up for sleepless nights trying to decide the colour, because everyone had gone for the kind of dark charcoal bronze tones, and it kind of felt like it overwhelmed the space and the vibe that we were going for. We wanted to achieve something a lot more lighter and brighter, so we ended up settling for this lovely white colour, which is a slight off-white. So this is my favourite room by far. I love the skylights that let all the light in, and I think it's just the most amazing family room I've ever designed. There's actually a lot of things in here that I could talk about because every single one of these pieces has a little place in my heart, including this amazing vintage coffee table, the Fredericia armchairs, this huge comfortable sofa from Knoll, this Dweese chair that was actually done in a bespoke fabric that both my client and I fell in love with. I absolutely love the cane backing and I think it's super cool. We designed this snug space essentially for the kids. We wanted a really cool, calm, cozy space that they could come chill out, do their homework, watch movies, and of course, sit on this amazing Maker and Son sofa that literally feels like a duvet. We went for adding texture in the wall paneling, which was a really simple way to just create a bit more of a feature. With the wall, we created this kind of gallery. We really wanted to make it a very Soho Home cool vibe. Some of the wallpaper we actually used in the house and in the design in the rest of the spaces we put in frames, which is quite a nice link to some of the other design elements within the space and the house. For this project, the whole home was rebuilt from the ground up. So when we remodeled the staircase, we managed to retain these stained glass windows, which was quite a debate between my client and I because she absolutely loves them. I feel not so strongly about them, but they look great and they worked out really, really well. It's really nice, obviously, to retain parts of the property that were already existing, and it keeps a part of the history of the house, so we're quite lucky that we managed to retain them despite my initial desire not to. When I was given the architect's plans by the clients, we had 4 doors in this corridor, which made it feel quite blocked off. This bathroom was a huge toilet shower room, which just didn't work for the usability of the space. We had a guest room and her daughter's room, and we didn't want people fighting over the toilet and the shower at the same time. So we created the 2 separate spaces. When I did that, that meant that we could create a kind of really nice archway, which was a replica of the crittle detail that we designed downstairs. So you'll see that there's a lot of arches in this space. The master bed was somewhere where we had lots of fun. I designed this bespoke bed head with my favourite bespoke team, Creative Edge. They are super cool and listened to everything that I asked for, which was amazing. We fell in love with this Fern fabric. I really loved the texture and the kind of country vibe that it brought into the space. We created these integrated lighting and bedside tables, which had to be kind of offset a little bit because of the length of the wall and the symmetry of the bespoke cabinets in front of it. So it didn't give us a lot of room to work with, and I think the team did a really good job of basically making all the proportions work and making sure that it looked right for the space. This dressing area was something that I really pushed for. I loved this viola marble and I thought it created a really cool feature piece within the design of the wardrobes. Originally we had a run of drawers, which obviously, you know, in London everybody prefers more storage. So it was a bit of a war with my client and her husband, especially as he insisted on having a TV. Not that you'd know, because it's a Samsung picture frame TV, which was quite a nice compromise, basically. We originally had a stool here, but we fell in love with this chair, and even though it took forever, it was definitely worth it in the end. You may notice in the project we used a lot of double doors because they are very space saving and create this really nice kind of boudoir opening feel when you have them in, especially areas like a dressing room or a master bedroom or a bathroom. So the main starting point was the floor tiles. I wanted to have a natural stone rather than something that was kind of out of a catalogue or off the shelf. I think the mix of materials really makes it something more unique. And then of course we had layerings of the different tiles and styles for this back kind of feature wall. The main burgundy theme was then something obviously that we replicated through from the master bedroom, creating all those connections with all those different spaces. We brought the crystal from downstairs up into the bathrooms, but this time in a really lovely bronze finish, and this was to complement all of the sanitary and hardware that was used throughout the home. Although there are brass accents in here, we went for the bronze because bronze can typically lend itself better into period homes because it's more timeless. Matte black tends to have quite a harsh aesthetic and is quite trending, so we tend to stick more with the bronze tones or an antique brass, and I feel like that gives it a bit more of longevity in terms of the design. So the guest bedroom was actually a bit of a whirlwind design because we decided to do it at the very last minute. And thankfully I'd already kind of planned what I wanted to do in my head, and it started with this incredible headboard from By Lydia. I saw it on Instagram and just immediately fell in love and thought it was so cool and such a statement piece. You can do something a lot more kind of interesting and bold with the guest bedroom that you can't do in normal bedrooms, and that is because you don't have somebody going in there all the time. It doesn't have to be so calm, so you can do brighter, bolder colours. And we integrated obviously this kind of really cool ochre colour and matched it with the blues and the greens to create a very cool textured patterned guest bedroom that people absolutely love. I think the most important thing to consider when designing a space is actually thinking holistically about the space. So it's never objectively one thing or another, it's thinking about the room in its entirety. I would suggest always starting with a floor plan because it's really imperative you know where things are going, the sizes, the proportions, and making sure that everything flows and works in sizing. And then that means that you have your kind of base to start with. Then you can choose the pieces that you want to go where. I think a design trend that is here to stay is definitely wall paneling. It was something that we saw come up on Instagram maybe 2 or 3 years ago from memory, and it kind of took Instagram by storm. Everybody was using it, and it's a really cool way to add texture and detailing. You can turn a really modern space into a very period space. You can create kind of feature walls, and as you saw in our project here, you can add texture and layers, and I just think it creates another kind of added layer to the design work, and I definitely think that people will continue using it. If you like my work and you want to keep up with my projects, you can go to NW3InteriorsLTD.com or at NW3 Interiors Ltd on Instagram and Twitter.